after about 30 minutes of video footage, getting it home and actually looking at the video footage, all the audio turned out to be like crap. So now I got to reshoot this entire video that I had put together. So, all right, this is so what I'm going to cover on this video. And I'm sorry about all the background noise. I have no better place to film this but on the side of the street in front of my house. So, real quick, what I'm going to show you is my solar system and how it and where it stands in relationship to the article that I wrote about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, on RC Help. The system still stands the way it did at the end of the article. Nothing's been updated. I haven't modified anything. So everything's still the way it was at the completion of the article. The only thing that's different now is I have a 1500 watt chargery power supply. It's a 1500 watt amp or 60 amp power supply. It goes as low as 10 volts and it can go all the way up to 30 volts, which I can use this when I'm near the house. I can plug this straight into 110 at the house and I can operate my PL6 and bump controller from that. So I don't have to use my solar bank when I'm at the house. The goblin. Yeah. So, anywho, so what do I have? Let's start off with the charger. The charger is still the same PL6 that I've been using for the last 5 years. I love it. I haven't actually touched the programming interface in about 3 years, thanks to the bump controller. So I really don't remember too much about the charge interface. Yeah, so that's that. So the bump controller, what is it? How's it work? What's it for? What's so special about it? So the bump controller in and of itself is nothing more than just a control element. It's just a controller. It can control the charger. So all the programming, for the most part, is still inside the charger. It's being sent to the charger from the bump controller. This bump controller can control up to 4 PL series chargers. So the combinations can be 1 to 4 PL6s, you can run 1 to 4 PL8s, or you can run 2 PL8 duos with this system. There's 4 servo ports in the back, as you can see the servo wire. There's 4 channels, if you will, ports that you would run off to your expansion channel to your PL series charger, and that's how it controls the charger. Okay? Real simple, cut, dry, forward. Now, for the power requirement on this system is very, it's imperative that you follow the wiring diagram. Okay, so I have this harness made up. Okay, basically I made a Y harness. So whatever power source that you're powering your PL series charger on, the bump controller's negative lead has to be on that same power source. In fact, if you're running multiple PL series chargers, all the negatives have to be coming off of the same power source. It all has to be on a common ground, as they state in the instructions. So this is my common ground setup. I'm sharing positive and a negative in the XT90 up here, and one side of the Y goes down to the PL or to the bump controller. The other side of the Y goes to the PL6. Now, with this particular setup, I can either one plug into my chargery, which I have it slid out of the way so it's not going to reach. I can plug into that when I'm at the house, or I can plug into this pigtail, which goes into a positive and negative fuse block. There's 2 fuse blocks here. In fact, there's actually 3. The middle one is the 100 amp fused series cable, so this goes from the positive of one battery to the negative of the other. Should anything happen between the batteries, this fuse should blow and it should save the system. At least that was the intent. The 2 fuse blocks over here for the positive and negative, each one has 2 30 amp fuses, so there's 2 30 amp fuses in this one and 2 30 amp fuses in this one, which means there's 2 outputs. per one input. So the one input is coming from the battery, which is down below, into this block, and then my output is going to whatever I'm powering. So I have one positive, one negative coming out right now, and then on the other terminal, on the other output, I actually have, where's it at? Let me find it. That's not it. Here it is right here. So I have this on the other output terminal, and basically what I can do now is if I'm at the house and I need to charge my lead acid batteries, I can. I just take this lead right here, which plugs into the charger. The green, what the heck, now I can't even think of it. Castle Creations 60 amp bullet will then plug into here, okay? And then this here goes down to the battery. So now I can program my PL6 to charge my lead acid battery from the chargery power supply when I'm at the house. So that's what this setup is for. And that's essentially everything that goes with that. I'll get into the bump controller here in a little bit. Right now I'm just giving you a quick overview of everything. So this charge lead right here, alright, plugs into a board that I'm showing you similar to this. The boards that are down below, there's two of them. You just remove these two EC3s and replace them with leads, a positive and negative lead on each side. And then those leads run over to these binding posts, which is how the batteries connect to the board. I have this for my flight pack. So if I ever need to hook up my flight pack, I just unplug the XT, I believe that's an XT30 that's underneath. And I unplug it from the board that's down below the deck here, and then I plug it into this. Then I just run my balance lead over to one of these balance boards. And that's all I got to do to charge my flight pack. And since I don't have to do that too often, I'm not gonna, it's not that big of a deal to just swap it out. Notice I got my voltmeter over there. I got some extra extension cords if I need them. These are primarily for camping. The red one and this green one are primarily for camping. But I can use it if I'm out at the field flying. So that's really everything up top. Down below, my fused power strip, which will run into my 750 watt power inverter, which is down under there, along with the two 6 volt batteries. So there's the power inverter. Since it's only 750 watts, it's not going to be powerful enough to power up a 1500 watt power supply. So again, the inverter is basically just for when I go camping. That's really the only thing I had intended for it. Now there's also a USB port on the front of it. I'm not sure if it's a 2.0 or not. The inverter I got up at Harbor Freight is fairly inexpensive. The golf cart batteries, each one is 227 amp hours. Like I said, there's two of them. They're 6 volt batteries. They're tied in series to give me my 12 volt. If you look, over here on this positive terminal, I have a brass fitting, and then over on this negative, I have a painted fitting. The brass fitting, if I remember, it's been a while since I looked at it. If I remember correctly, the brass fitting is for the series connection, and the painted one, which you got the black painted one, and then there's a red painted one, those are the leads for the 12 volt system. Okay. Behind each of the posts for the battery is a smaller post that you can do like an I-ring end, like a ring terminal end, slide it over it, and just tighten down a nut on top of it. So and that's what the clamp for the power inverter is connected to. So that is that setup, and then underneath here, like I said, I just got these two boards. Each one has 2 blacks and 2 reds one set for each side. Each of these boards is fused at 30 amps, I believe. It's either 30 or 40 amps. I don't remember. But then they come over to these binding posts right here. Real simple, quick, dry. And then the yellow cable you see that runs down underneath is the balance board lead, which plugs in the back, which you can't see, but it's back here. Plugs in just above that XT30 that you see right there, and that's what powers the balance board. And then it just goes up through that hole up to the balance port on the charger. Now let's see if I can do this with one hand. So now, and I can't, so just bear with me, folks. There we go. Now we're powered up. So one improvement I would like to make to this particular system is I would like to have this on a power switch. So I just turn it on and off. I don't have to keep plugging and unplugging it. Again, it's just trivial. It's not going to use that much power if I leave it plugged in, but I definitely want to try and get this on a switch, so I can just turn a switch on and off, because the main purpose of it is for it to be used off the solar system, not off of the house power system. So again, that's just something that I would like to do in the future. So how does this all work? Well, let's grab up a battery that I've already flown, that's already discharged. Now I'm not going to be charging this battery because I don't know when I'm going to be able to fly it again. So I'm just going to go through the steps and the motions just to show you. So I have right here my Flight Pack 1, which, let me see if I can, there we go, that's better. Flight Pack 1, as indicated by the ones. So these two batteries, I bought them together. I actually bought Pack 1 and Pack 2 together. I bought all 4 batteries at the same time, and they arrived at the same time. So I unboxed them, I put the ends on them, and they've been paired ever since they were put on these battery trays, or on these battery trays from Goblin, or SAB. They've never been separated. They've been discharged together, charged together, so they're essentially a mated pair. Now these are 3,000 milliamp hour packs. My series connection for these. All right, so I'm not going to advocate everyone do this. This is an at your own risk thing. All it takes is for one screw up, and you just screwed up your batteries. So be warned that if you decide to do a series connection like this, that it's at your own risk and not at mine. Okay, I chose to go this route. It's up to you to go with whatever route you want. The way I set up the rear battery is, hold on, having a hard time grabbing them. So when I talk about these connectors, I'm only going to talk about the metal bullet part, okay? I'm not going to talk about the housing that they're in, all right? I'm just going to talk about the bullet portion in and of itself. So the back battery has 2 female bullet connectors, all right? The housings are different, but they are 2 female bullet connectors, all right? Now the red off of my back battery plugs into the negative, or the black, on the front battery. And if you look, I have the positive is a female bullet and the negative is a male bullet. So these two can plug in together. Alright? So that's how these two connect, is positive from the rear, negative from the front. The negative, and then my longer negative lead from the rear battery and the shorter positive from the front battery go into the speed controller. And then these are mated the way they should be mated. Okay? And then the ESC has its mated setup. That's just how I decided to set it up. You don't have to set it up that way. That's just how I did it. You can even go as far, so like for your series connections, you can actually go as far as using a completely different style of bullet connector to differentiate your main power leads, so that nothing can connect into each other, which makes it foolproof. I chose to go this route. So because I set this up in this particular fashion, I had to make my own charge leads to match what I have set up on my batteries. And I had to make sure all my batteries were set up the same. So that took some doing. It took me a little while to get it set up, but I did it. Managed. It worked out just fine. It was great. So to get the system to work, I could plug everything in and then bump, but it doesn't work out so well for me, so I'm going to bump first. So how does this work? You have your RF tag, which contains all the information about this battery pack. Okay, and some of it's updatable, some of it isn't. Maybe I'll cover that in a later video or something, or in another video at some point. But right now, just know that there's data that's stored on this tag. Apparently, they say it's stored on the tag, so I'll just go with that. Anyhow, you take your bump tag and you hold it over the bump zone, and if you hold it, okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. You can see that the bump controller actually shows you the information it's about the battery. Alright, now this particular battery has 35 charge cycles as indicated by the 35 up here. It's a 12S pack, 3000 milliamp hour, 45C. Max charge rate is 5C, and it's telling me that as of right now I'm pulling 3.11 megohm per cell. Now the IR reading on this charger, I'm not going to tell you that it's accurate, but I'm not going to tell you that it's inaccurate. Okay, your readings are only going to be as accurate as you want them to be based off of how well you set up your test environment. All right. If you're going to be using the charger for your IR readings, make sure you have a controlled environment where you can control temperature almost precisely. And you want to make sure that your packs are at the same temperature every time you do it. Trust me, it's a big whole long process to test IRs. And because I'm using this primarily as a charging station, I don't necessarily have the batteries at a state where I can do consistent IR readings. So just keep that in mind, alright? So that's just some of the information that you're going to get on the first screen. Now the copy button will allow you to copy the information to another bump tag. Alright, but we're not going to do that, so I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to cancel that because I didn't do it right. So I'm going to hold it. Alright, I'm going to hold that on there. What I want to do now is hit settings. Now I can remove the battery. Now I'm going into the settings of the battery. So now I can adjust what I want from my batteries. My accurate charge is a 3C. Fast charge actually should be at 5C. And my discharge rate is going to be at 3C. Okay? 3, 4, and 5. And actually, what I probably should do is actually drop this down to 1C, 3C, and 5C. That's more like, oh, let's hit plus. There we go. That's more about what I would want to have. All right. So that's how you do your battery settings. Now you come into for that screen. This screen here is telling me that my accurate charge termination is going to be at 4.20 volts. Okay, for all of them. Good to go. Discharge termination is going to be at 3.37 volts. All right. So if you go into a storage cycle or anything like, or if you go to a straight discharge with the bump controller, it's going to stop the discharge at 3.37 volts. Okay. Not to be confused with storage, which is on this screen. My storage termination voltage is 3.85 volts, which gives me approximately 50% of my packs. And the default operation for this particular battery is going to be on normal charge. So every time I bump it, it's going to default to normal charge, which is that 3C rate you saw on the first screen. Next we have the upload history, which I have checked. So every time my phone connects to the bump controller, it uploads the data. My charge counter is at 35 because that's how many cycles I have. And the battery ID, it says use default ID, which it automatically generates itself. This is the fuel table. If you know anything about the PL series batteries, you can generate a fuel table for your battery, or you can run it through a couple of analyze cycles, or you can just cycle the battery, and the bump controller will automatically develop a fuel table for you. Now, on this screen, bump the battery, do not move it. Okay, so basically what I did, since I made an update, I have to save it to the tag. Hold it. Update complete. Now, with all those settings changed, I could take my battery pack number 2, which is basically the same battery, and I can bump it and I can transfer the data, but I'm not going to. We're just going to cancel out because we're done with that. Now, I want to charge. All I have to do, tap it like that. Now this screen's a new feature with the latest update, but it's never said this before. Okay, it's never done this before. And because I am running in parallel, since I would be running in parallel, I'm just going to go ahead and click on parallel. Now all I got to do is plug in my battery to my charge boards and hit go, and this thing will start charging. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, it's real simple. If you notice, the 2XP means there's 2 packs in parallel that are 3000 milliamp hour 45C Pulse Ultra packs. I got it at normal charge, which is 3C at 9 amps, and it will stop its charge rate, its charging cycle at 4.20 volts, and it'll go into a balance cycle at that point. Max amps is 18, so which is up here, and my packs should be at 25.20 volts when they are done. And that's essentially the entire bump controller process. Well, once you've programmed the tag. That's not the tag programming. Tag programming, it can be a little bit tedious, so we're going to clear it because we're not charging. And that's that. So after 2 charge cycles at the field, I don't know if you can see this down here, my charge controller went from 13.4 volts down to 12.8 volts. And just to give you some more information about the charge system for the solar system portion of it. This is the charge controller, so this actually hooks up to the solar panel with these real thick black solar cables. Okay, I'll show you the panel in a minute. So the panel runs in through this cable, through 25 foot of it, all the way up into here, and it is what is going to feed power to your battery bank, which is here. Your charge controller actually gets its power from the battery bank, not from the solar panel. Okay, so these speaker wires is what sends the power to the batteries, but it also powers the charge controller. So the charge controller, once it receives power from the solar panel, it does what it needs to do with it, and it sends it back out to the batteries. Once the batteries are at full charge, you then have a constant load port on here, which I don't have mine used. So if my solar panel was in constant daylight all the time, sunlight all the time, and my battery bank was full, the charge controller would just dissipate that energy. Well, if you have a constant load plugged in, then it will divert all that energy over to your constant load. There's an on-off button on here, so I can turn on and off power to the USB port and to these 12-volt barrel connectors to power whatever I need to power there. And it's switchable. So, and what you see over here is the amp draw from this stuff right here. So as these are drawing amperage, it'll register over here, and this is giving me a temperature of the charge controller. I believe it's the charge controller at 27C or centigrade. And my battery bank is, like I said, it's sitting at 12.8 volts right now. according to this. And if I was to pull out my multimeter, it would probably tell me the same thing. So up here I have the solar panel. Let you see the surface of it. I have it ratchet strapped down. I put this wooden frame on it. Got a couple of handles on off. I have a handle on each of the four corners right there. Because I used to strap it down across the panel instead of up and down. When I was doing it across, I would get this harmonic vibration going on with the ratchet straps, and it was really freaking annoying. So I changed to going across the panel, and it's eliminated the that vibration. So here's the panel. Now, whenever I park the car, if I can't park my car in an ideal situation, I do have legs. That's what this bolt is right here. There's two legs, one on each side, so I can actually take this off the roof and I can set it up in any orientation as I need it to, as long as it's in the southern orientation. The panel needs to face the south, generally speaking. I have a compass in the car for that, or I can just look up in the sky and see where Bob is. Bob is the big orange ball, in case you're wondering. So that's that. And just a few reminders, if you do plan on doing something like I have, keep in mind that as you're charging lead acid batteries, they do gas off nitrogen. So you're going to need to keep your, if you plan on doing like a vehicle like I have, as long as there's sun out and you have the panels hooked up, you need to make sure your vehicle is vented, because it will store all that nitrogen gas. Which isn't good for you, and it's not good for your car, and it's not good in case there's a spark. Just as an FYI, just know that the batteries gas off, and that gas off needs to be vented. That way, I've told you guys that you guys know. Oh, and these fuses are 40. They're 40 amp. I thought they were 30, but they're 40. So that's that. So that's my system. My crappy paint job on my V control. So, if you guys have any questions in regards to the system, feel free to ask me on the forum. Thank you.